on a lot of different things, but she's been also extremely involved in a lot of activities in Lowell. And I'm honored to introduce to you tonight Vanna Howard. Vanna Howard has been involved in public office as well as is that private? Private. We call it
non-profits.
Non-profits. Yeah, and she will be sharing about her story. So, Vanna, you're most welcome to AITV tonight.
Thank you so much, Rogers, for having me on.
Thank you. Yeah. We'll start with your story.
Okay.
Because I see a lot of viewers now are seeing you for the first time, and they'd like to know who Vanna Howard is. Who is Vanna Howard?
Great. Thank you so much again to Rogers for having me on. My name is Vanna Howard, and I live in downtown Lowell with my husband and 2 children and a puppy. I have been in Lowell for almost 30 years, worked and lived in Lowell for almost 30 years. Currently, I am a government liaison at Lowell Community Health Center, one of the biggest Lowell Community Health Center in the region. We serve almost 40,000 patients a year. And prior to that, I worked for, who's now retired, Congresswoman Nikki Songas as her Greater Lowell Regional Director for 12 years, the whole entire time when she served in Congress. She's a member of Congress and she's now retired. And prior to that, I worked for both Middlesex County and Suffolk County District Attorney's Office for almost 13 years. So all of my life I've been fighting for social justice and human rights and community service and as a public servant, and I have the background and skill set in the community. I serve on 10 plus nonprofit community boards right now, currently, in addition to professionally and personally. I also participate in community, whether it's cleaning parks or cleaning canals. So pretty much I work about 70 hours a week.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Sleep is over. You have seen me, and I have seen you. Right, you're out there, I'm sure. Sleep,
yeah.
Who sleep, right? Sleep
Nobody
is overrated.
Sleeps. Exactly. So you see what's unique about your story is the fact that you came to the United States as a refugee. Could you share about that briefly?
Sure, thank you.
Because a lot of our audience members are immigrants.
Yes.
Some came here as asylees, some have come as refugees of some sort, some have come here in other capacities.
Yes.
And it's fascinating for somebody to hear a story from somebody who can actually resonate with them. So could you share that?
Thank you so much. I resettled here as a refugee from Cambodia. I resettled here with my mom, my stepfather, and my younger brother, who was born at the refugee camp in Thailand called Khawidang refugee camp in Thailand. And my mom was pregnant at the time with my other brother as we were coming to the United States, and he was born shortly after we settled here. I went through the 4 years in Cambodia during the Khmer Rouge genocide. My dad, my 3 younger siblings, my maternal grandparents were all died there. Either my father was killed by the Khmer Rouge, and the rest of the members died from starvation with no medication. So from that, it was just my mom and myself left from that 4 years.
Oh, sorry about that. Thank you for sharing that. Now, what I hadn't mentioned before that is very important for everybody to know is that you're going to be running for Massachusetts State Representative.
Yes.
What is that?
That is, so it's a 17 Middlesex District State Representative seat. It opens every 2 years, so this is the year that it's now open. And so I decided to run because this district could use a full-time representative, someone like me who has the experience, the background in this community. I have immersed in this community, worked and lived here for almost 30 years in nonprofits, in public at the DA's office for 13 years with Congresswoman Nikki Saunders. My biggest caseload actually with Congresswoman Nikki Saunders was immigration. So that was my biggest caseload. I helped and worked on for, I think, almost 4,000 cases in just immigration alone, in addition to veteran issues, housing issues, Medicare issues, and I was also the Congresswoman outreach. I was an outreach staff in the community in the district. Congresswoman Saunders served 37 towns and city, and that's equate to about 800,000 constituents. So we were pretty busy the whole time she was in the office for 12 years. We served constituent services, and that was her most important. One of her most important work was constituent services, effective, exceptional constituent services, and she made sure that her staff that serve exceptional constituent services to the to constituents that's in her district, which is the 3rd congressional district.
All right. So thank you for sharing that as well. Now, a lot of times, the underserved communities, particularly immigrants, are less involved in the local electoral processes, and in part it's because the community that I relate to have always had a feeling that really that doesn't bother us, it doesn't concern us so much, and a lot of times they've mostly concentrated on being involved in the electoral processes for presidents in the presidential elections. Why do you think that somebody who is watching the show tonight should actually participate in the local electoral process?
That's a great question, Rogers. Thank you for asking that. This is a state representative seat, and so in the 17 Middlesex, there are 3 districts in this Merrimack Valley. There's the 16 district, the 17, and the 18. I am running for the 17 Middlesex because it's open for now every 2 years, and so it matters whether it's a local election, a state election, a federal election. Everyone should have a voice, should have a say, and so by doing so is to vote, and to vote for a candidate that you can you can identify with, that you can share your values, your vision with. And there are important bills in the state legislature, especially now that's pending, the Safe Community Act bill and the Work and Family Mobility Act, the Safe Community Act, which is to protect civil rights and safety of residents, regardless of your status. Okay, so to restrict whether ICE, DHS, ICE, to have the the control of our residents. So that bill, hopefully, that get voted, and to protect the civil rights and safety of our residents, regardless, of your status. Families, united families belong together. They shouldn't be torn apart just because, because of your status.
Or the status of the parents.
Or the parents, right.
Yeah.
So families belong together. So Safe Community Act is a very important bill that should be voted on and should be passed. It's very important that families stay together. And the other bill is the Work and Family Mobility Act, and it's very vital, especially now during this pandemic, to have to give family a standard driver's license so that they can get to get to school with the children, take the children to school, to work, or even to the medical appointment. That's a very important bill to make sure that they should be issued standard driver's license so that they can all be safe, protected, and because, as you know, our immigrants, even our documented, we contribute to this society.
Absolutely.
And somehow we don't get the full benefits, and so it's time that those 2 bills are very important bills to pass. And another bill too, which is the DREAM Act. The DREAM Act, it's been so long. We need immigration reform. It's time that immigration reform is passed. It's been discussed for so long. The DREAM Act, these children that were brought here into the United States through no fault of their own before they turn 18, that bill should be passed a long time ago to give them first the conditional permanent resident for 10 years, and then from there on the 5 years lawful permanent resident. And after they've been a lawful permanent resident for 5 years, then they can go on and be naturalized, become a U.S. citizen. And so those bills are very important, and they should be passed a long time ago.
Oh, sure.
And yeah, I'm all about pro-policies, pro-immigrant policy, and no one should be left behind, especially, communities of color, immigrants. We contribute to this society just like everyone else. You have undocumented communities that pay taxes, but they don't get the full benefits. And a lot of people, get that misinformation out there that they get free benefits, but they don't. The benefit that they get just really very restricted for all the. They pay taxes just like myself, and so in order to pro-policy, pro-family policies, pro-immigrants policies, very important, so no one get left behind. Everyone should have, should have the right to access to quality health care, to housing, affordable housing, education. Low-income students should afford themselves with just like the best education, like all of us in this country, and so no one should be left behind.
Thank you. So what I actually I see as something that is consistent is the fact that state representation is important in making these critical decisions that actually simmer out into community, that actually we directly benefit from as community members. And I think that gives us it maintains the emphasis that we have to be involved in the local electoral processes to make the decisions that are actually going to make things better in communities we live in.
Exactly. Collectively, when everyone come together, the numbers are very important. If you have a lot of folks voicing their concerns, and elected officials pay attention to numbers. So if you have a lot of folks voicing on any issue, and any particular issue, they pay attention to numbers. The higher the numbers, the better. Yes. Okay. So to be involved in any issue that matters to you, it's very important. And so voting, whether local or state or federal, it's very important to participate, because every policy affects every single person.
Absolutely. So now, there has been a lot of sentiment of underserved communities not actually getting the services they get. I know you've hinted on some of these areas, but could you ideally share what role you're going to play in bridging that gap that has actually made these communities stay away from local politics, stay away from, or feel like nobody cares about them? What are you hoping to play? Because that is going to be very helpful for everybody to understand.
That's
why
another
you're
good
running.
question. Thank you. Accessibility, transparency, and I have been in this community in the nonprofit. I have worked with Congresswoman Saunders for 12 years and the District Attorney's Office for 13 years, and my role now currently at Logan Health Center, and participate in any projects, issues, events in the community, immersed on the ground level, working with the community, partners with the community. I have been, the accessibility and transparency. If I should be successful, if I'm elected, is to be accessible to everyone, and anyone can come and address the issues. So when we come together and address to address issues, participate. So for the community, it's very important that they have, that they can call their representative. I believe in that. When you an elected official, you are elected by the people, and so the voter should have a say, should be able to reach you at any time when they have a concern in anything, and that's very important, to be accessible to your voters, to the community, to your district, and any issue at all. And so it's very important. If I'm elected, We will have, you know, Facebook, we'll have web page, we have phone number dedicated, coffee hours to meet with the community, at least to just what bills, you know, that's being addressed at the State House, or any issues you want to, so the community are your eyes and ears as well, but to address any issue, you want to involve everyone in that discussion at the table. So everyone should have a voice at the table. Absolutely. In order to address any issues.
Thank you so much. We are so happy to have you. So lastly, before we go, could you kindly remind the audience which area you are running for state rep, and ask, let them know which communities are actually going to be voting and why and how, who should know that you're actually running for their area.
Great.
Remind them of what is the 17th district, which areas are actually within the 17th
Great, thank
district.
you so much. So the 17 Middlesex districts consists of downtown Lowell, the Belvedere, Upper Belvedere, Lower Belvedere, South Lowell, and one precinct in Chelmsford, precinct 4, and also part of the Lower Highland as well, between Chelmsford Street and Westford Street, and that area. And so there's about 40,000 residents in the 17 Middlesex. So that's downtown Belvedere, South Lowell, and portion of the Lower Highlands, as well as one precinct in Chelmsford, which is precinct 4. And the primary is this coming up Tuesday, September 1st, and the polls will be open from 7 a.m. until 8 p.m.
Thank you. Thank you, Vanna, for coming, and thank you for sharing about your running. We look forward to the outcomes of the election, and so happy to have you. I hope we'll have you as a guest once you go through.
Great. Thank you so much, Rogers. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in.
All right. So we are thankful that you've been part of our audience tonight. We look forward to having you again for this moment next week. Thank you so much, and have a good evening.